What is going on, you guys? Mr. Lepar here, back again with another really cool comic video. And in today's video we are going to be going over how Spider-Man kept the symbiote and permanently bonded with it in this crazy what if that was actually put out, I think in the late 80s, early 80s, something like that. But it goes over the follow-up of events with leading up to Battle World, and the whole point of Spider-Man getting the symbiote at Battle World was because his suit was actually damaged, so he needed a new suit, and they gifted him the symbiote costume, and he ends up coming back to Earth, and everything's pretty much history from there with Web of Spider-Man issue 1 when he rips off the symbiote and all as well. But in this alternate reality, the Watcher pretty much tells us that there's another variation of this, but events went differently. And it's pretty crazy because Peter would actually go with Black Cat to Earth again after the events of Battle World, and Black Cat would ask if Peter was okay, and he felt really run down by the symbiote because he was already like bonding with it permanently in this timeline. And just like our original timeline, Peter goes to Kurt Connors to get tests done, and that's when later on Peter would have to meet up with Reed Richards because he couldn't get enough information about Kurt. So they're all telling him that the symbiote is actually alive, and it could actually be too late for Peter to rip off the symbiote. So Peter tries to fight the symbiote, and he's fighting it when all of the heroes are actually there, and the symbiote ends up just permanently bonding with him. They end up putting him in a glass container of some sorts to try to do more testing on it, but Peter's like, he tries to break out of it, and Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four assume that like this is too late, like we can't find a way to do it. And Peter actually decides like, okay, well, we need to get somebody even stronger than you, Reed. So they end up getting Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange tries to do a spell to reverse the symbiote to try to get that off of him, but nothing works, and the universe, it's consumed him. Like there's no power in the universe that can take the symbiote off. Like it's too much control, and he becomes consumed, and all of the heroes are still watching this, so it gets pretty intense, and he just keeps getting stronger, and then he breaks out of the container, and then he starts to swing away. So this is really weird because in this timeline now, we're in a timeline where Eddie Brock actually never became Venom because Peter ends up swinging away, and the symbiote is just getting stronger. But because of this, the suit ends up pretty much taking over Peter's life force, so he pretty much becomes an old man when he's in the symbiote. Now, I've never really heard of this in any other things because we've seen Peter become consumed with the symbiote, but I've never seen his life force actually be taken away. But it's really interesting because Peter becomes an old man in this weird timeline, and Reed actually visits him, but he takes a heart attack. And what's really interesting about this is the symbiote would actually like come off of Peter because all of the heroes were trying to actually catch him. And what actually would happen is the symbiote would jump off of Peter, and that's when it would jump to hero, so it would actually go into Hulk and Thor. So that's really weird. And eventually what happens is when he takes a heart attack, they have a funeral, and they pretty much tell Aunt May and MJ that like Peter won't be coming back, and they don't know what's happened to him. So it's a pretty sad story of like what if Spider-Man was possessed by the symbiote, but it gives us a really cool take of like alternate events on like what would have happened. Because if you guys don't know, in the original timeline, like 616, Peter removes the symbiote in Web of Spider-Man issue 1 when he goes to the church, but all these events literally happen right after Battle World, so there's no really in between when he can use the costume. It's kind of like a one and done thing where he becomes consumed. So it's really interesting. I also feel like this is just one of the best comic books because it really gives us like what the symbiote can do to other characters like Hulk and Thor, and it really just shows how like OP these characters are when they bond with the symbiote. And it's just a really cool comic book in my opinion. And anyways, guys, what's your thoughts on Spider-Man permanently bonding with the symbiote? If you guys are new here, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But anyways, as always, peace out.